before, living in White Center. She had a job at a cafe, and yeah, we lived in a crappy apartment, but so did everybody else. Now Phil was giving us free rent, and he owned us. I looked at Mom in those pink pajamas and said, "You could probably get your old job back. Or you could work for Frank at the insurance company." I tried to keep my voice calm. Mom had a hard time not getting emotional. She shook her head, and sure enough, tears started leaking out of her eyes. "You know I can't sit behind a desk all day. Why can't you just be happy? You can put Claremont High on your college applications. That's why we moved here." "No, you moved here for Phil." "I moved here for your school. If you just try—" I cut her off. "Don't go there." She was about to give me a speech I'd heard 1,000,000 times. Not that it ever did any good. Mom stopped for a second. It was our dirty little secret that neither of us could deal with school. She'd dropped out her junior year, but she wanted so badly for things to be different for me. "I am going there. Maybe it doesn't matter where I go to school. It's not going to change anything." Mom wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Well, I don't agree with you. And you need to stop treating Phil this way. He owns this house." My stomach twisted. I looked around my room. 4 white walls, a particle board desk, and a bed. I hadn't even put up posters. That's how much I hated living on Phil's turf. "Can you at least try to be nicer to him?" "No." "Please, Gabe. Where's the gentleman I raised?" This was such a crazy question. I didn't even know how to answer. Mom was fuzzy-brained about a lot of things, including this whole idea of a gentleman. How could she talk about gentlemen when she was hooked up with a guy like Phil? And what was a gentleman, anyway? The only part of it I understood was that I was supposed to pay on dates and open doors for women, except the ones who didn't like it. "Okay," I said to make her stop crying. Then, because I couldn't stand being home 1 second longer, I got up, bolted downstairs, and left for school, even though it meant getting there early. Claremont High was a training camp for rich people. It was a shock the first time I saw it. The floors were always clean, and there were twisted metal statues in the stairwells and big windows showing buzz-cut grass outside. The ceilings went up forever with cool beams and pipes at the top. Every classroom was tricked out with ceiling speakers, smart boards, and MacBooks, but most kids brought their own laptops or pads. Now, 2 weeks in, it was starting to feel normal. I got to school early and sat in the quad, watching people drift in. A lot of the kids were what you'd expect from Microsoft land. Pulses ticking like bombs under their Abercrombie, all "I'm gonna beat you to Stanford and Silicon Valley and Googleplex." But there were plenty of others, too. A bigger range than I'd expected. When the bell finally rang, I headed to first period science with Mr. Newport. He was a big guy with messy, curly hair. His pants were always droopy, his tie always loose, and his shirts looked like he'd ironed creases in them. I liked him for that. As soon as the flood of people stopped, Newport held up a hand. "Don't put down your backpacks. We have to turn right around. The Microsoft Orchestra back-to-school concert is today." Microsoft Orchestra? I ended up in line next to Kyle Butler and Forrest Lexington, who ruled the school, along with their boy, Matt Chen. Kyle was a typical high school king. Dude had that surfer blonde hair that girls love and a confident vibe like he knew how to have a good time. Plus, he drove a Jag and dated Erin Fullman, the hottest girl in school. I think he was a rower. Forrest was harder to peg, but he was wicked smart and could talk circles around the teachers. I kind of liked him, for no good reason. We headed downstairs to the auditorium and sat in the stadium seating, big, fat, plushed-out chairs like at the Cineplex. Kyle and Forrest broke out their phones and started texting. On my other side was an Asian guy plugged into a Kindle. I wondered what my boys back at Jefferson were doing. Probably lighting blunts in the bathroom or texting through Hazel Grove's class. Maybe still at home sleeping. I wanted to make some guy friends at Claremont, but that takes time.